What's up, Jay? What's going on, Jay? How you doing, Jay? What's up, Abdul Ram? How you doing? How you doing, Abdul Ram? That's right, slow mode. You make a comment, you're not allowed to re-comment for 20 seconds. You're like, oh, fuck. What's up, Boris? What's going on, Boris? Boris, how Russian are you? Your next comment, Boris, I want to know like how Russian you are. That's what I want to know. Lovely Libra, what's going on? Always good to see you, lovely Libra. You've been, I've seen you in the Telegram group for like 2 years, probably like 2 years, lovely Libra. And I think you gave a super comment like a couple live streams ago. Lovely Libra. Jay Patel, what's going on? We haven't spoken in a while, Jay Patel. And if you're like, what are you talking about? We haven't spoken before, then I've talked to other Jay Patels before. Amir, what's going on? Andrea, what's happening? Thanks for being a member. You're green. Everyone else is gray, so I know you're a member. Champion, good to see you again. Guys, give the live stream a like when you come in. Give the live stream a like. Raha, what's going on? Medical and abroad, what's going on? Andres Chinchilla, you finished NBME 31 yesterday and you got the chronic pyelo gross specimen meme image, LOL. Yeah, it's real. It's good. It's good stuff. It's real good stuff. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to go into like a 4-minute discussion of it right now, but I literally just put out an Instagram reel on it. I forgot to upload to YouTube Shorts. I got to do that. I hate YouTube Shorts uploading. Usman, what's going on, Usman? Boris, you're Ecuadorian, actually. I get that all the time, though. Well, Boris is like a very, very, very Russian name. And I had a friend in middle school whose name was Boris. And never would have guessed it. He was Russian. Let's see. 3TH, examine 10 days last week, take NBMEs 27, 28, you got 73, 72. What should you do now? Well, your scores are perfect. There's a lot of people who would kill to have 73, 72 on their NBMEs. So those are very good scores, and you're in the last 10 days. I'd say just look over other NBME exams. Like, what about 29 through 31? You're obviously going to do those. And I'm assuming you did all of them, 20 to 28 so far. If you haven't, you got to do all the forms you haven't done from 20 to 28, as well as free 120. And also high yield arrows PDF. You got to look through that as well. Ian Cassis. First of all, thank you for my heart. I would not pass step 1 without you. Daniel, what's going on? Daniel Bowman. What's up, Daniel Bowman? Shiva, what's going on? Red Devils, good to see you again. Another live stream, another Red Devils. I think you and Champion have made every live stream so far. I think so. Should I do QBank in system-wise or mixed for step 2? That's a long discussion. And the starting point is, are you post-grad or are you on rotations? Because if you're on clinical rotations, you're obviously going to do it subject specific, right? Okay, so you would do your PEDS. If you're on your PEDS rotation, you would do the PEDS questions from Melman QBank. You would do the PEDS PDF. You would do the PEDS playlist on the YouTube. You would do all 8 CMS forms for pediatrics twice prior to your shelf. If you're post-grad, you can do untimed tutor random from step 2, Melman QBank. And then if you want to remediate subject specific, you're like, well, I suck at obs-gyn, that's fine. So do 40 to 80 questions per day, untimed tutor random from Melman QBank. But then after you do that, you can do the repro obs-gyn playlist from the YouTube. Let's say knock out 10 questions, and you can read, let's say 15, 20 pages from the repro obs-gyn PDF that night. And then you do that every day and you knock out obs-gyn over like a week or something. And that's how you can do subject-specific mode simultaneous to random in QBank. You understand? And it's like that for step one also. Like you can do like cardio or GI. You can focus on a subject-specific approach with the YouTube QBank and the PDF after you do the random questions in the QBank. I like random questions in QBank, random mode, because it's better for macro retention in my view. Tawfiq, can you make a live answering cues only about step 2? No. Because you're all here and there's overlap in terms of value. And even if you're studying for step 1, you should still know some pearls for step 2. I mean, I've got like, if you need advice for step 2, you can not pay rent and you can meet with me on Zoom, but I actually have no time. I've like had to cancel students lately because I have no time. Kiana, what's going on? Usman, please make Anki deck variants for Melman QBank. I mean, we have the Anki, our premium Anki. What we're going to do is next year, probably, or I should say possibly, is we're going to have a like a flashcard library / PDF interface in a QBank format with analytics and the color themes. We're not quite there yet. It's more of a like, it's a quaternary priority. Like it's not a priority in my mind, but it's something that can happen in 2026. Okay, so we'll have like flashcards and the PDFs, and we'll have analytics in a QBank type of feel, like a premium feel. We can get there, but it's not very granular in my mind at the moment because we're focused on more important things right now. But the premium Anki offline, I mean, those are stellar, and they don't have to tie into the QBank directly. I've harped on the fact recently, if you just watch my like reels and you do my live streams, that I don't think you should be making your own Anki from QBank. This has nothing to do with Melman Anki. I'm saying when you're going through questions, don't take notes, don't make your own Anki. You say, well, how am I going to remember things? You're not supposed to remember everything. So the notion that you're going to remember like 90% of what you read, that's not the process for most people. You're going to remember maybe 20, 25%, but the high yield stuff you're going to see repeatedly. And then those small chunks will agglomerate and you'll remember enough for your exam. Okay, so don't worry about making your own annotations or Anki. It's overrated. And here's another point, guys, I want you to understand. This is important, okay? The notes that you take from, if you take notes or make Anki, the notes or Anki that you make from QBank, as your knowledge base increases, you're going to look back at those notes and like kind of like laugh. You're going to be like, why did I think that that was hard? I know this because when I studied for step 1 back in 2012, I made my annotations in different colors based on when in my prep I was. And like the annotations I made throughout were like ridiculous by the end. Things were either like hyper easy, and I'm like, I can't believe I had to annotate that. Or they were like highly nitpicky and pedantic details that were just like completely off mark. Amir, exam on the 31st, everything now. You've done everything now, what? The 30th should be very chill. And it should basically just be NBMEs until through the 29th. And then the 30th, the day before your exam, should just be very relaxed. Do not study past lunchtime on the 30th, day before your exam. Don't eat too much in the afternoon either. Maybe have like a slice of pizza. That's like it. Don't eat a lot. You don't want any bathroom issues the next day. And just a chill evening. Jay Patel, maybe a different Jay Patel, not you. Okay, well, I used to teach a Jay Patel. So it's not like a hallucination or anything. But Patel, that's like, isn't that probably like one of the most common Indian names? Like Gupta, Patel, those are like super common. And then Jay is also common. Ian, I wanted to ask you if you think it's a good idea to do UWorld and your QBank. I've answered this numerous times. I've said, guys, that you can do both. Okay, so for instance, If you're like, well, Mike, I feel apprehensive, I know your stuff's the GOAT, but I still feel apprehensive doing or forgoing UWorld, for instance. I've said you can do both. And that juxtaposition, you'll be able to contrast and see that ours is better. And that's more powerful, having that point of comparison, than just doing ours in an absolute sense, where you can actually say, no, I did UWorld and Melman's QBank. I did both, and Melman's was better. That's more powerful than just, yeah, I did his QBank alone. It was fucking awesome and I passed. Yeah, that's great. But like the juxtaposition, okay? If you're ambivalent or apprehensive, right? So you can do both. It's like the same thing with FA and the PDFs. Like, you say, well, I've looked at FA, and then, oh yeah, the PDFs are much more on spot with the NBME exams. You can have that juxtaposition. Medical and abroad, Mike, how to get your membership? You can get YouTube memberships. And by the way, that's like, I get like none of that. YouTube memberships are like really mediocre if you're a content creator. Like YouTube takes like 90%. So if, for example, if you become like a bronze donor of my channel and you're like, I'm going to give like $1.99 per month, YouTube, I get like 12 cents. So like it has nothing, it's more just, I see your name and I might remember your name. And then that's like a point for you, I guess, down the road. But like you could just buy like one of our cheapest products. You could buy like one of our Anki decks, and that would be more than that's like 2 years worth of like YouTube membership. So it's not like a financial thing. Ahmad, what's going on? Abdullah, NBMEs 1 through 19 are for what? ? Which is for steps 1, 2, 3. I mean, 1 through 31 is step 1. Step 2 is 6 through 15. There are forms earlier than 6, of course, for step 2, but I've said just do 6 to 15. Step 3, there's like 3 of them that you can do. Hamid, Kolo. What shall we start with for... Cool, I was reading your question. The chat moved on me, so I have no idea what I was just reading. Let's see, let me scroll back up. Okay. What shall we start with for step 1, blocker system? I mean, I said random mode in QBank. That's what I want you to do. You're going to start with Melman, step 1, QBank. Just do random mode. Do our PDFs, Anki in the evenings. Do the YouTube questions. So video QBank. You need to do 2 QBanks for step 1. And for step 2, I mean, it's all the same, but you're going to do 2 QBanks. You're going to do the written QBank, and then you're going to do the video QBank. Melanie, if we could only buy one, should we get your Anki or the QBank? I mean, look, there's anecdotes of people who have literally done 12 hours a day of our Anki and have gotten tremendous score increases. I've talked about this in other live streams, okay? I know some of you have been here, some of you haven't, but there's anecdotes, okay? I generally prescribe doing QBank. I think it's generally smart to do a QBank, right? Like I could say, only do my PDFs only and study for step 1. It's like you could, but don't you think it's smart to do questions? But I've had a couple students where they've come to me with fails, mid-50s on their CBSE comps for school where they had already done QBank. And so their issue wasn't, and this is before Melman QBank, this is like back in April. But their issue wasn't like number of questions that they had done. Their issue was like their knowledge base. And I was like, well, you can pound the Anki. And they both did like 12 hours a day on Melman Anki, and they both had, they had a 72 and a 71 respectively by like June. They went from like not knowing anything to like being pretty smart. Where like even I was like, wow, like they got really pretty like smart. They were doing like 12 hours a day on the Melman Anki. And like one of the girls, she needed a 64 for her pass. She needed to get 264s at her school, or a singular 72. It was one or the other. And we were just trying to get to 64, and she ended up getting the 72. The other girl got a 71, but she was at a different school and it wasn't the same thing. But I generally will say, like, do the, QBank, do like 40, 80 questions per day, and then do like 4 hours of Melman Anki in the evenings. Okay. And there's other people who've literally done like 12 hours a day of just the YouTube QBank and have done well. I've had that as well. Thank you, Ayat. Mockery Gabra, how to get a 270 plus on step 2. Just making sure you get through step 2 QBank, right? So you do Melman step 2 QBank. You would do all the CMS forms, the 50 question NBME subject specific forms. You do NBME 6 through 8 offline. You do a double pass of all the CMS forms. Then you'll come back, you can do free 120 and then 9 through 15. That's what you do for step 2. That's going to change within like 2 to 3 months. Okay? When we release our shelf QBanks. Okay, once again, I understand some of you have been here and you already know that. Others haven't heard that. But we're going to release 8,000 plus question shelf QBanks: EM, FM, IM, Surge, Peds, Obs, Guy, and Neuropsych. Okay, all of the rotations. And you can do those alongside 2CK and 3, and that will give you the boost, especially for 270 plus. Champion, for someone who has scored above 90%, step 1 NBME is consistently no prior review of step 2 content. How much time would it take to achieve a score of 270 plus, considering I have only 6 hours available? I mean, it would be easier for you then. It would be easier for you. So I would still objectively get through all the content. I would say in your case, if you're getting above 90, if your retention's really good because you've got 90s on NBMEs, you could do the step 2 Melman QBank, come out, do the CMS forms, and then literally just do 6 through 15. You might be able to, with free 120 after form 8, you might be able to bypass the second pass, the CMS forms. Like you might do 6 through 8, kind of be acing them. You could do free 120, then do like 9, 10, 11, and you're like, I'm already getting like super high scores. You could just sit. Okay, but if you're not getting the 270 you want, if you're getting like 250s at that point, you could just do the double pass of all the CMS forms. Vishal, is it going to be regular from now on? No. These live streams are not, some of you get complacent. You're like, oh, Melman's doing a daily live stream. No. This kind of is the same situation as summer of 2023. I was doing this. I did like, I think, a month and a half of live streams. And people got very comfortable thinking I was like, oh, he's daily live streamer now. And then I just didn't do live streams for like 2 years. So it might be the same. It might be like just all of a sudden, no live streams, 2 years. See you guys in 2 years. It's possible. I mean, as you know, we're making content into the Reels and Shorts right now for YouTube. That's what we're doing. So I'm having people splice out these segments from the lives to make content for social media, right? Let's do social media. That's a long discussion. I want to focus on like, you guys, obviously. The reason, I'll just say this though, the reason I didn't do social media heavy until the reason I only just started social media, and this is for real, is because prior to having any products, when we were just doing tutoring and stuff, I had too many clients already. Like I was already oversaturated for clients. I already was turning down clients. And what's the purpose of social media? To get more clients? Like, what was I going to do? Like, I didn't want more clients. So that's why I was like, no, stay the fuck away. So I wasn't doing social media. And now that we're doing like QBanks and stuff, like, you need more awareness. Okay. You switch from service to product. And so like, there needs to be more awareness. So that's why. But it's like, I didn't want more students before. Christian, what's going on? Samira, what's going on? Roberto Lau, what's the best way to study genetics? We've got a genetics PDF that's really good. It's on the free stuff tab. Billy, when you write QBank questions, Are you taking NBME questions and changing she to he? Question, not get caught by NBME for copying, triple question mark. Just want to, clearly we're not copying NBME. That'd be like the dumbest like thing. And yes, we absolutely would not do that. Yeah, I mean, we know what's on the NBME exams, and then we can write unique questions based off of that. Think of it as like my YouTube. You know, I've had people be like, where did you get these questions on your YouTube? It's like, well, I fucking wrote them. And then it's like, you know, people are like, are you basing them off like, you know, UWorld? I'm like, no. I'm like, I know it's on the NBMEs, and I write stuff based on like my knowledge of the NBMEs. So that's where it stems from. No, we would never fucking copy NBME. That'd be like the dumbest thing. Duvall, Sony, strategy for 270s in step 2. I just talked about it. Amima, Idum. Hi, I have step 1, September 22nd. You feel like you can pass if you do 100 questions a day of the NBMEs? Please guide me if I can do it this way or not. What do you mean 100 questions a day from the NBMEs? You would do an entire NBME on a single day, start review of it, and then it could spill into the second day of the review. So you would never like split up an NBME per block or anything like that. Let's say you take NBME 22, you would do all 4 blocks that day, grade it, maybe finish 2 blocks of review that day, and then the review would spill into a second day. So it should be an entire, not 100 questions from NBME. You should do 20 through 24, free 120, then 25 to 31 in the final 3 weeks for step 1. Champion, why are you double posting? I've said don't double post questions. I see them. Christian Cardinal Arazzo. Mike, why are biostats so fucking annoying? It would be a good idea to study biostats 1 week previous from the exam, quadruple question mark. I put biostats for students maybe like 2 days out just to like review formulae. But apart from that formality, biostats needs to be studied bit by bit every single day, pretty much. Because you can't cram biostats. Like I'll say like 2 days before, you can just like overlook the formulae again or like review the formulae again. But pretty much like don't save biostats. You could do like 2 modules from our biostats course per evening after you do QBank. You do that longitudinally. You knock out like a module here and there, just knock them out, do the practice questions in our course for biostats. So biostats is annoying, but you can't cram it. It's a very longitudinal subject. You got to like read it, try to understand it. You're like, maybe I understand it. And then you sleep on it and somehow REM sleep. Like you wake up and you like get it better. That's kind of like what you have to do with biostats repeatedly. One face X, you're in Saudi Arabia. Ali, my basics are very weak and I am 2nd year medical student studying in Arabic. How do I start and pass step 1 in 1 year? I'm confused a lot in materials. Well, you're going to do Melman step 1 QBank. And after you finish that, you're going to do NBMEs 20 to 31. Now, if your exam's in a year, it's way too much time. Okay, but you could get through Melman, YouTube, QBank as well. You should do all of that and all the Melman PDFs, Ali. Jess, how do people join so fast? I posted the links to Telegram and to Instagram story, and also YouTube doesn't like, there's a lag. So it'll say like no one is like present, and then all of a sudden it will jump to like 30 people are present because they have a lag. Champion, yesterday night I had a dream where I had to have a conversation with my friend telling them not to take tension and instead do Melman QBank for all subjects. Sing, what should one do if they can't retain information just from reading from your PDFs? That's what the Anki is for. Okay, I've said this. I've inculcated this. Most of you guys can't read. Okay, most of you guys, if we like gave you a page to read, and I said like, do you remember anything you read on this page? You'd be like, No, I don't remember anything. That's most of you. Okay. So the Anki helps with that. So you do like an Anki card, you try to remember it the best you can. You forget it, and then it shows up 4 minutes later, and you're like, oh yeah. Okay, and then you see it again 6 minutes later, and you're like, oh yeah. Okay, that's how most of you are going to learn, because most of you can't read. Like when someone says I did your PDFs or what, I'm like, you didn't do my PDFs. Or you don't remember shit from my PDFs. Abdul Ram finished 70% QBank till now for step 1. Still got ethics biostats. I said don't cram biostats. Don't wait. Don't do that for last. You said you'll read them from my PDFs. Is 2 months realistic to review all your PDFs, NBMEs, practice tests? First of all, you should be doing my PDFs simultaneous to QBank. You shouldn't be waiting till after QBank. It's not a good idea. 2 months, yeah, you can finish all of them in 2 months. Jess, how can you jump from a 270 or 250 to 270 in a week for step 2 CK? I'd want to know when your exam is. I'd want to know what you finished so far. Are you talking about like which NBMEs did you do? How much QBank did you do? Did you do all the CMS forms once or twice? That's the stuff I'd want to know. Christian Angulo, you failed step 2. You used UWorld with 71% corrects. Did NBMEs 9 to 15 twice each. CMS last 2 of each topic twice. My last NBME 15 was 238. Any recommendation? Yeah, easy. Melman QBank, step 2. So this is what you're going to do, Christian. You're going to do Melman QBank step 2, the 2450 questions. You're going to do all of those. When you come out, you're going, and you said you already did the CMS forms. So when you come out, I would have you redo 9 through 15 literally as like a third pass, but not for score, just so you can have that comparison, just for the sake of blasting through them, like 1 per day. And then I would have you do 6 through 8 and free 120. I have you do 6 through 8 because you haven't done those yet. But I mean, you should see the augmentation in scores after you do Melman QBank. Usman, the answer is no to that. Usman, terrible idea. Mira, QBank average 63 to 65. Is it possible to sit for exam in October, starting NBME as soon as finishing your QBank? I wouldn't worry about your percentage in our QBank. Just do the QBank, do the best you can, whether you're getting 45, whether you're getting 75, don't worry about it. Just go through the QBank, and then we'll see how your NBMEs are when you come out. Okay? We'll see then. You'll do 20 and 21 offline. You'll see how those go. If they're above 60, you'll proceed to NBME 22. If you're 65 plus on 22, you'll proceed to 23 and so forth. But we ultimately want NBME 68 plus. Mustafa. Good to see you, Mustafa. We'll chat, Mustafa. There's stuff to chat with you about. Shiva. Was doing your QBank in tutor mode. You got too comfortable. You tried timed test mode and struggling to complete. Spending too much time on cues I don't know the answer for. You can just do tutor mode. You don't have to do timed mode. Because the NBMEs you ultimately do timed. I've said that timed mode is vastly overrated. Like you could do an entire QBank in tutor mode and be perfectly fine. The only people I prescribe timed mode for are those who specifically explicate that they have problems with time. Like if you come to me and you're like, no, you don't understand. I'm terrible with time. I can't pace. I had like 8 questions remaining. I'm like, okay, relax. Like you could do time mode. It's not a big deal. You can, learn how to pace better and stuff. But for most people, just tutor mode and you'll be fine on the NBMEs. People have issues with time. It's their knowledge base. You understand? Because if your knowledge is good, why would you have a problem answering questions? Why would it take you a long time to answer questions if your knowledge base is good? You know, the whole thing about ADHD, so you get like 3/2 time and stuff. I mean, most of you who are slow on questions, it's not that you have ADHD, it's just that you don't know the information. Daniel Bowman, you cleared CVSU with 76, very high. You want to take step in 3 weeks. What should I do for the next? I would just take it immediately. So just make sure you do 20 through 31 and free 120, and just, yeah, all your NBMEs are like 76, 75, 67. I don't like that. 76, 20. Yeah, just do all the NBMEs. Make sure you do like Melman high yield arrows. Look over Melman high yield arrows. Do all those questions. Make sure you can do all of them. Okay. Mehlman high yield endocrine, Mehlman high yield path. Those are the 3 pass level PDFs. Okay. When people do my PDFs, they're like, I did your immuno, your biochemistry, your neuroanatomy, because those are like, yeah, they're good, but the pass level ones are like endocrine path arrows. Those are the mandatory ones. Mustafa, we got a lot to chat about. Mustafa, if you're still in the live stream. Safe Abu, that's right, Safe Abu. You retract that message. Safe Abu. Shakespeare, good to see you back. Scoring too well in the NBMEs. When it comes to QBank, I'm literally not doing well. Admir, Kurtabegu. Hi, I'm 75% through UWorld for step 2 at 69% cum. Everything was at 80, 85% for step 1. Yeah, people like drop when they go to step 2 QBank usually, but they tend to score higher on step 2 anyway. You did half a CMS, NBME 9 was 233, NBME 10, 247, exam in November. Well, you should be doing all the CMS ones. And you haven't done Mehlman QBank. So I would pretty much, you said you already did 75% of UWorld. I would honestly just switch to Mehlman step 2 QBank, do that, come out, do CMS forms, do the NBMEs, and I think you're going to be a lot higher at that point. That juxtaposition as well. When you do our QBank, you're going to be like, fuck, it's better than UWorld. You've done 75% of UWorld, so you're going to know, you're going to see that difference. Ahmad, with almost 0 base, can I prepare for step 1 on January 30th? Yes. Yes. It only takes you like 3 to 4 months. If you say 0 base, meaning you literally know 0, I mean, we'll see, but you can just start step 1 QBank, get your scores up. You just got to do a lot of questions, do the Mehlman PDFs, do the Mehlman Anki, do the Mehlman YouTube. It's all you got to do. 8 to 12 hours a day study. That's what you got to do. FAIQ. Hey, Mike, so many obscure questions on offline NBMEs 2CK. Whenever you do a new form, there's going to be obscure questions, how it always feels. Alim, step 2 done with UWorld 61%. Correct. You did CMS forms, then you did 1700 AMBOSS questions. 71% correct. Then again, CMS forms. Okay. Okay, Shiva. Postgrad several years out, when you're doing QBank and reach a question you don't know, you end up going on reading on the topic after a 5-minute review of one question turns into 1 hour. Yeah, you want to avoid that. The deep and meticulous type. I've had students like that. Deep and meticulous, but it's not a, like you have to be able to modify your study process. Okay, you gotta be able to pace yourself. There's some accountability there that you have to have. Rahel, what to do for 2CK preparation? I've started studying. I mean, what is this? You know, let's talk about 2CK 101 now. I mean, I'm sure you've heard what I've talked about in the live streams already. Okay, so Mehlman step 2 QBank, you want to do the CMS forms, and you want to do 6 through 15 and free 120. ICRS says, where in our prep should we do FA? That's not a part of your prep because this isn't 2013. This is 2025. Update yourself. It's like, it'd be like your mom saying, like, you know, all those kids on Facebook. It's like, do you mean like Instagram? Do you mean like TikTok? Like, do you mean like what do you mean Facebook? Like, kids don't use Facebook anymore. So when you're asking about FA, it's like you're in the past. It's an anachronistic question because it's out of place. It says you've been listening to the wrong people. Okay. When you get those thumbnails on YouTube where there's like some Indian dude holding up like an FA and it's got like 274,000 views. I mean, those are like very malignant clips and they're parodies at this point because they're so misguided. They're misguided. It's low IQ stuff. AKS, thank you for step 1. Should I thoroughly read the QBank explanation for each question or just be specific for the concept test and move on? You can just read and not take notes. I've said that. Don't obsess over it. Just try to retain the best you can, but don't memorize what you read from the explanations of QBank. You don't have to memorize. Just understand basic concepts. Dr. Mike, if I use your PDFs, QBank, Anki with almost zero base, can I be prepared for January? Yes. Yes. Christian Angulo, you failed step 2. You used UWorld with 71% corrects. You did NBMEs 9 to 15 twice each. What about 6 through 8? You didn't do those. CMS last, I already fucking read your thing. I don't like that. I don't like that. Don't double post. Don't double post. Madi, I am preparing for step 1 for 5 months. You watched cuck videos. You solved 40% of UWorld with 70% correct. You solved 30%. Okay. Your question is, and then you don't have a question there. Bassam, if I get 75% on UWorld, should I do the incorrects or skip to other QBank? Not skip to other QBank. It's called appropriately going to Mehlmanmedical. Like, you haven't done that. Okay, so it's time to update yourself. Okay, it's time to update yourself. I mean, if you don't do Mehlmanmedical, it's perfectly fine. Just understand that you're just not going to score as high. Like, you will score lower if you don't do Mehlmanmedical. I'm not like, I'm not being an asshole and like, it's nothing like creating FOMO or anything. I'm just saying like, it's facts. It's facts. So there's that balance between like, yes, it's my, it's our QBank, but at the same time, like, I have responsibility to tell you how to get the highest score possible. And so you should do our QBank and you'll score higher because a lot of other people are doing it and their scores are going up. Amima, you have an exam 22 September. Please tell me which PDF of yours should I do. I've said path, endocrine, arrows. And the whole chat just moved down on me. Let me see. Thank you, Super Soldier. Okay, I lost where I was, but it doesn't really matter. If I missed you, sorry. Bassem, you got a 75% UWorld. Okay, I read that. Ricardo, you've been using my strategy, but today you made the last 40 questions of UWorld, then it's not my strategy. When has my strategy been UWorld? Do you mean like old clips? Like obsolete clips I've talked about? That's not my strategy. Your step 1's in 6 weeks. You should start NBMEs 3 weeks out, basically. You're going to start NBMEs when you finish QBank, 20 through 31. So 20 through 24, free 120, 25 to 31, in that order. Okay, and you can finish the QBank that you're doing. But my strategy is you're going to do Mehlmanmedical because that's going to get you a higher score faster than UWorld. Holy shit. It's like, you serious? I'm serious. Clockley, good to see you again. How much should I do your PDFs? Like, how many pages a day is ideal if your exam's in 45 months? That depends on your reading speed. Okay, there's some people who can read a PDF in a day. There's other people where it takes them a week. So it's all over the place. I like to just arbitrarily say minimum 10 pages. Some people, it's like 10 pages per day. If they're slow, it's like 10 pages per day. 20 pages per day is good pace overall. Alyssa, Any recommendations for multimedia questions, soap style questions? No. No. Those will show up, and you don't have to like really worry about those too much because you'll handle it when you get there. Like you could, if your knowledge base is good, you can handle that stuff without having to like see it prior. So don't worry about these like soap style questions. It's like, it's akin to just being able to dissect long vignettes. Just glance around for keywords, things that jump out. It's what you gotta do with a patient's chart. Is it better to do old CMS and old NBMEs or do a second QBank after UWorld? Well, you should do all the CMS, including the offline ones. I've said that. So there's only like 3 questions that are literally like outdated from the CMS. There's one where it's like the active phase of stage 1 labor. It became 6. It used to be 4 centimeters. Like the mnemonic is 6 is the new 4. But there's like an old question where it was like 5 centimeters or something. And it was like considered active, but now it's like considered latent. There's like one question like that. And there's like another family med questions where it was like check lipids at age 32, but it's like you don't check before 35 in males, 45 in females like now, but it used to be like earlier. There's like a few questions, but like apart from those 2, you want to do all the CMS anyway. That's the thing about step 2 is like guidelines shift. Like even pneumococcal vaccine, it's no longer 65 and above, it's 50 and above. It's 50 and above now. Shingles vaccine as well, 50 and above. Louise, you're feeling good about your basics for step 2. You need to improve the next step in management questions. What do I think you should do? If you need to improve next best step in management questions, you never would have guessed it, Melman QBank, okay? Because that's how you're going to practice all those questions. The 444. How long were you able to study before needing a break when you were preparing for the USMLE? I didn't break. You say you can actually push through 4 blocks. I used to just study like 8 to 12 hours a day, like no problem, and I never drank caffeine. It's like very like odd looking back at like how that used to be, how I studied. But I had a chip on my shoulder when I studied for USMLE. When I studied for step 1, I had a chip on my shoulder, which was I was trying to prove to my dad that I could get a high score, and I did. At the time, it was a high score. Now it's with the score inflation, it's like decent, but I had a chip on my shoulder, and that allowed me to study. I really grinded it out. But I would say in general, you should do 6 hours of study minimum before you go to the gym or anything, and then you come back and you have to do at least another 2 hours of study. But I didn't take breaks when I studied for USMLE. In 2012, I studied 8 to 12 hours a day the entire year, never took a day off, and I never took breaks. I went on a road trip with I was in Australia. I went on a road trip with one of my friends, like midway through the year. We drove north, and I like even studied in the car. Sometimes, like when he was driving, I'd be like reading through like flashcards and stuff. Like I was always studying. Always studying. It's not an accident. You understand? Your work ethic is going to translate into your level of efficacy. It's not an accident how these things manifest. James Trell, do you recommend doing a year of clinical work post-grad as an intern to gain clinical experience, or would you recommend doing a research-focused year? I don't think it matters. It's your 2CK that matters. You could take step 3 if you're gonna. Are you talking about prior to applying for a residency? Any research you do is going to be overrated. So the most important thing I would say is getting a letter from an institution you want to be at. That's the most important thing. You find an institution, you say, can I work with someone at that institution? Can I get a letter from someone at that institution? And while you're there, you can try to make other connections. That's what you got to do. Not some bullshit research. People embellish research. They know that. They don't give a fuck about your 14 papers that were all bullshit. Okay, like people embellish that stuff. Kushagra, you did step 1, February 2022. Do you need to restart from scratch, take step 2 CK by November? What do you mean restart from scratch, take step 2 CK by November? You should be doing step 2 QBank. Louise, already read your question. Shiva, if you were to write step 1 and 2C, write step 1 and 2 CK now, how do you think you would do? I would pass step 1, believe it or not. Step 2, 270s. I would get bullshit questions wrong, so I probably wouldn't get a 280. At the risk of sounding extremely like hubristic, I'm sort of at that level where like, if I get an NBME question wrong, I'll kind of look at it and be like, nah, they're wrong. It's like at some point you're just like, nah, that's actually a bad question. Nah, they're wrong. Because if you get an NBME question wrong, it's sort of like they're the overlords. It's like the NBME is like they're the overlords, like these mystical people that like write these questions and like everything they say is like the answer and correct. But like I've seen stuff where I'm like, nah, that's like wrong. Nah, like who are these people? Some random like 48-year-old attending that like I would sit down with them and be like, this isn't like, and they'd be like, yeah, you're right, actually. And I'd be like, yeah, exactly. Let's rewrite the question. I wouldn't get a 280. I'd probably get like, I don't know, 275 or something if I were to sit it now. Boyan, you'd like to ask about the gaps in questions 1300 to 1400. And oh, yeah, you DM me about that. On the YouTube, if you've gone through, there were originally, I was skipping questions because I was doing a private member-only video QBank that I started, and then I scrapped that idea. Like if you search, like we have like a member-only, like maybe like 315 questions. This was before we started working on actual Melman QBanks, but it was like an idea that I was working on, and I scrapped it. I was going to do like basically like a YouTube, like a video QBank for members only, separate from the YouTube. I decided, no, we'll just do regular actual QBanks. So you can find those questions, but they're like hidden. Like you could Google them probably, and then you'll find you don't have access because they're like private questions on our site, but they have nothing to do with the actual QBanks that we put out. But that's why the numbers skip. It was like my organization at the time. Federico, your step 1, 16th of December. How many times or how many NBMEs should you do and when? You could start NBMEs like the last week of November, and you're going to do all of them, 20 through 31 and free 120. Can you tell me how to know my percentage on NBME? It's called, you do the NBME and then you grade yourself. You guys ask a lot of duplicate questions. It's like you're trying to grab my attention, but you don't realize I'm going in order on the stream. I'm not jumping around. Werner, you're averaging 70 plus on Melman QBank. Random, consistently. Do you think this will translate to the NBMEs? I'm not concerned about how the percentages correct in our QBank translate to the NBMEs. You're just going to do the QBank, finish it, and then when we get to the NBMEs, we'll see how you do. I'm not concerned about that correlation. I'm not concerned about that. It says your last few NBMEs were 58. You're going to do an NBME this weekend. Champion, what is a good initial percentage when I start doing step 2 QBank for 270 plus? 90. 90. Emusan, if I do the whole boards and beyond lectures along with tagged along with Anki cards tagged, which also covers almost whole Costanzo cards, like, and you're talking about first aid and Pathoma and sketchy, laughable. You couldn't have like synthesized a more like hyperbolic parody there. That's like parody level stuff. It's like you basically like combined 5 cuck resources into like your mini paragraph, and then you presented it to me as if I was going to give you like a serious, judicious response and be like, yeah, do that. Like, whom have you been listening to is what I'm interested in. Like, what influences have you had where you thought that was the question to ask? I've talked about how to prep. I mean, if you score low, it makes sense because, you know, the agglomeration of these resources you have, it's just, it's misguided. It's misguided. Champion, when your shelf QBanks get released, you plan to buy all of them? We'll see about that. We'll see about that because they're not going to be cheap. And the step 2 QBank, which must be done first, shelf QBanks or step 2 together. Okay. Marmed 25. You're applying to emergency med. You have step 2 scheduled tomorrow by NBME. Your NBME 13 was a 222. Should you push it? Your step 2 is scheduled tomorrow? Well, I'd want to know what your other NBMEs were. Did you do 6 through 15 also? Or just 13? I wouldn't get into this emotional, like, last minute delay. You can just sit. But I'd want to know, like, did you sit the other NBMEs? I mean, because you guys are getting into the period where you have to sit this step now because of deadlines. I think like September 10th is like the last day or something to apply. I'm not an expert on the dates, don't ask me, but I had like a couple students say that. Rome. Thank you for helping me pass step 1, step 2, now applying to residency. Maverick, what do you think about the new price for USMLE? I don't know what the new price is for USMLE. I'm assuming it didn't go down. I'm assuming it did not go down. Newer, Mike, I got 25 days left to step 1. You're going through our PDFs, NBME's 25 to 31, free 120. Is that enough? Well, what about 20 through 24? You want to do those as well, newer. Aditya Nadella, thanks for all your amazing content. Want to know, when should someone consider getting a tutor? Is it a significant advantage, especially for step 2 score? What do tutors help with? I mean, that's more like a personal thing. Like, it's more about accountability. Like, we can boost your scores, absolutely, but it's through content, but that's about accountability. You know, if you want to get handheld with your plan. And so that's what it's about, accountability. How many milligrams of caffeine do you consume and do you cycle on? Right now, I'm on like a low amount. Today, I only had I had a tea earlier, and I had a little bit of matcha before this live stream. But it's 2:30 a.m. here in Japan right now. Raj, how long does it take to get to your Anki? How many total cards? There's 7,700 cards, and it will take a variable amount of time based on your knowledge base. Liam B, what's your go-to sushi order? There's a lot of sushi places here, clearly, because I'm in Japan, and there's a place I get from that I'll get like either 27 or 31 pieces of sushi. There's like certain things I order. Today I didn't have sushi. When did I last have sushi? Maybe 2 days ago I had sushi. I had 27 pieces of sushi 2 days ago. How often do you talk to your parents? Once a week. I talk to each of my parents once a week. I always call them. Mahmoud, what's up with doing AMBOSS for safety questions? What's your approach to get better? Well, you could just do Melman QBank for that stuff. We got a lot of questions on that, like hand washing, alcohol for your hands, gowns, all that stuff. We've got a lot of safety questions, communication questions, a lot of those on our QBanks. So none of this AMBOSS garbage. Nidon Caesar. What are the chances of matching into IM or PEDS with passing the second attempt of step 1, scoring 245, step 2? That's fine. You can fail step 1 and you'll still match. You can fail step 1 and still match. You just can't be entitled, that's all. You can't have entitlement. Okay, so you just got to apply broadly. 245 is a solid score for step 2. Aditya, is it better to have very strong base for step 1 or just get it over with and spend more time studying for step 2? It's all the same, because if your knowledge base sucks for step 1, you barely pass, you're going to have to study all that stuff for step 2 anyway, because you're going to have really low scores when you get to step 2, and you're going to have to study all that stuff anyway. Chat moved on me. Let me scroll back up. Junberg, I have your step 1 QBank, but I heard your playlists are really good too. I don't know if I have time to do both. So what would you recommend? Do our QBank. That was a good investment. Buvan, I have stuck with 6% UWorld. You try doing random, but not getting good scores. Do you feel like you haven't retained anything? Okay. Was there a question there? Mo, you're a med student outside the US starting clinical rotations soon. You haven't done step 1, but you want to prepare for it alongside clinical rotations. It's not a good idea to prep for step 1 while you're doing clinical rotations, but you have no choice, huh? Your basics are not that good. Well, yeah, it's very annoying anyone who has to study for step 1 on clinical rotations, because you have to focus on rotations. You have to focus on the step 2 content, you know? So that's a bit of a dilemma. What's your opinion on doing Mehlman QBank 40 to 60 questions a day for 3 months? Taking an exam, would that be 3 months? It's a long time. You'd be done with our QBank in like before that. This is not UWorld with like 4,400 questions. But you should be able to get through our QBank and then just go to the NBMEs and you'd be fine. All right, let me skip through some of these. Are you planning on launching CCS cases in the future? Maybe, but it's not even like a remote priority right now. It's not a remote priority because it's very, very involved, and I don't really want to like deal with that right now. There's like not enough people. Step 3, it's like there's a demographic, yes, but like you're talking overall, it's like 1% of our clientele. So we can make it in principle, like CCS platform, but like you're talking 1% of like the people doing our stuff is a step 3. But there have been a lot of step 3 people lately, in an absolute sense. I'm just skipping through some of these. So we're going to cut this because it's been an hour. I'm just skipping through some of these. How do you do biochem for step 1? We have an excellent biochemistry PDF, and we have the biochemistry playlist on the YouTube. That's how I'd study, seriously. All of our subjects are in our QBank now also, but I would say like the biochemistry PDF. I'm going to answer one more. Any chance your next product would be a podcast of you reading your PDF out loud, like a Speechify thing? No. Probably a 0% chance of that. The 444, that wouldn't make friends. It's never a good idea to talk about that sort of thing because that doesn't help with making friends, right? If you're like that person who's like, I got a 278, everyone's like, that's great, we don't care. That's not how you make friends, you know what I mean? Has the opposite effect. Let's see, anything else? How to deal with toxicity of co-interns? I would say always be professional, never gossip, never talk shit in the hospital setting. Well, in general, but in the hospital setting especially. Always, just always be positive with your colleagues. How different is your QBank from the playlist? Our QBank's it's a completely different way of learning. It's like saying, like the video QBank is completely different from, would you say our video, the YouTube is very different from the PDFs? The answer is yes, which is very different from the Anki, which is very different from Melman, actual QBank now. Completely different. Different learning styles. Guys, you know I'm gonna do more of these.